It's time for the Las Vegas Sportsline. Brought to you by Caesars Entertainment, where every guest is treated like Caesar and every visit is unforgettable.
Here we go. It is the Wednesday edition of the Las Vegas Sportsline. It's our Caesars Entertainment Wednesday, and that means Jeff Davis. He is the director of trading for Caesars Entertainment. Joins Teddy Covers and myself. And we've got a lot to talk about today. I mean, the Stanley Cup playoffs get underway tonight. The Masters tomorrow. We got some baseball news to pass along.
There's breaking news less than a minute old on Twitter.
Oh, there is?
Yeah, but it's not that big.
What is it?
Sterling Shepard. The Giants, in addition to paying Golden Tate, they've just paid Sterling Shepard $21.3 million in guaranteed money instead of paying OBJ. They traded OBJ.
Well, and that's why, Jeff, that nobody's betting the Giants' futures, I assume.
Yeah, you're spot on there, Dave. I mean, like we talked about a few weeks ago, you can't make them really any higher than they are, and who knows what that organization is doing.
All right, we want to hit the NHL playoffs and the Masters hard in this opening segment, so let's get right to it. We're going to hit each of the series. We'll get it as much as we can as in terms of a betting report on where the action is and a little analysis as well. And we'll just take them in rotation order and begin with the Blue Jackets and Lightning. And this is the big price out there. Not that, Columbus is a very capable team, but the one thing that they haven't been is capable of putting together long stretches of excellence. And that does not bode well for them as they take on Tampa Bay, Jeff.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. We opened first in the market. We opened Tampa Bay minus 245. And immediately we took a few bets. And I can't believe where the market's gone. It's up at minus $4 and change everywhere. This price is officially ludicrous. This is the price that the Lightning were against the Devils in the first round last year. And if you ask me, this Blue Jackets team is far superior than that of the Devils team last year. Plus 350. While obviously it's not going to win all that often, seems like tremendous value on Columbus right now.
Sure. I always love the value bets that don't win. I seem to be pretty good at spotting those. We've got two of the original six in a series that starts tomorrow, the only two of the original six that are matched up in a first-round playoff series.
That's right, yes.
The Maple Leafs and the Bruins. What kind of action are you seeing, and what are you expecting for Toronto and Boston in the first round?
This is the one series that we've taken dog money on. This one opened minus $1.45, drifted its way up to about 55, and now it's back down around minus 40. The price does seem a bit high from a metrics and numbers perspective. Boston's really had Toronto's number in the playoffs of late, and from a neutral's perspective, I'm not sure there's going to be a more entertaining first-round series than this one. I expect it to go 6, possibly even 7. Toronto can score with the best of them. Boston plays such a good, strong, defensive, conservative style, which could cause the Leafs fits. I lean Boston in this one, but I'm not sure laying the number that's out there is worthwhile.
Yeah, I didn't lay it. I'll obviously be rooting for the Bruins because that's where I'm from.
That's what you do.
But I think it's a good matchup for them because Toronto is just not good on the blue line. And, they went out and picked up they made the trade late in the season with the Ducks or the Kings, I forget which. They got Muzzin, that's right. But it just hasn't really had that much of an effect, Jeff. They just don't defend well. And to me, the only way they can win this in terms of getting 4 games to win column is to turn it into a high-scoring shootout. And I don't think the Bruins are going to allow that.
Totally agree. I can't see the Bruins getting themselves into a series where every game plays 5-4. Watched a lot of hockey playoffs in my day. It's not the mid-'80s anymore. You can't go into playoff series needing 4, 5, and 6 goals to win, and I think this will end up coming back to bite Toronto.
Here's an entertaining series because this team has really started to put things together, and that's the Carolina Hurricanes. They're extremely well-conditioned. They are a fast-skating team. They throw a lot of shots on goal. The Capitals are the defending champions, but they haven't shown that level of excellence throughout the regular season. Now, the playoffs are beginning, so maybe they will again, although they've got a different guy behind the bench. I don't know if Carolina's ready to win a playoff series yet, but they're definitely a team on the rise, and I think that is interesting some people.
This is an interesting series because Carolina is the metrics darling of the NHL. Every model, every metric thinks this Hurricanes team is incredible. One guy I talked to, whose opinion I really trust, actually made the Hurricanes minus $1.15 in this series, which we hung minus 20 and it got smashed immediately. You can find as high as minus 65 now. And if you're a guy that watches hockey and doesn't pay attention to metrics, looks at Ovechkin, looks at what they've done, you're going to think minus $1.20 or 30 was too cheap on the Capitals. But if you actually watch the game maybe a little bit more in depth, outside of maybe the goaltending, this Hurricanes team is really good. Sebastian Aho is an incredible player. They have a really, really deep blue line. I think the Hurricanes plus $1.45 is a great bet, and I give them as good of a shot as any to move on here.
When you look at the teams that earned home ice advantage in the first round, there's one that really stands out in terms of a lack of market respect. That, of course, the New York Islanders, who the markets are saying, yeah, nice regular season, and that proves something to me. What are you seeing as the Islanders take on the Penguins for Game 1 and for the series?
In Long Island, and it's on the it's at Nassau.
Yeah.
Okay, all the playoff home games. Did you factor that into the price, Jeff? Because that is their real home ice, if you want to call it that.
We actually did just a bit. We opened Pittsburgh minus $1.15, and looking back on it, way too low. I've been down on this Islanders team for pretty much the entire second half of the season. They really, outside of Barzal, don't have much in the way of offensive talent. You look at the wealth of riches Pittsburgh has in that department. To me, it's a huge mismatch. I'm not so sure how far the goaltending can carry them in the playoffs. It's carried them in the regular season all year. Not to take anything away from Barry Trotz. He's done an absolutely incredible job with a mediocre roster. But of all the sports, it seems like to me the hockey coach has less of a say as to what's actually going on the ice compared to some of the others. And I'm not a big have to win this game guy, but if the Islanders are going to do anything in this series, they have to win tonight.
Ben Bishop and some other people wearing a Dallas uniform will take on the Nashville Predators. Now, the Predators are a team I've been down on, but I think they drew a nice first-round matchup because unless Bishop stands on his head for Dallas, which is entirely possible, he's been arguably the best goalie in the league this year, that's really the only chance the Stars have here, isn't it?
I would think so, and I, like you, have been down on the Predators. They just don't score enough goals,
Nope.
And Rene kind of has to stand on his head for them to win, but they got such a great matchup. The mismatch on defense between these two teams is unbelievable. Dallas has a couple of nice offensive defensemen, but as far as defending goes, they play such a negative style, and they have to, given their roster. Just the forward depth up front doesn't exist for Dallas. I know Nashville's power play is not that good. They're going to struggle to score goals, and you watch the series. I see every game being 2-1, 3-1, 1-zip. If you're into a little bit more open hockey, tune in elsewhere.
But that's what makes this, in a sense, maybe a spot where, as much as I would think the matchup kind of favors Nashville, it might not be an easy series for them. Because if you're talking about a series where every goal is really meaningful because there aren't going to be that many scored, Dallas can sneak out with 2-1 wins. So that's what makes the upset a possibility here to me.
I agree, and I think the series price almost is a play for Dallas. I think Nashville's going to advance, but it's so expensive for a team that can't score goals. It almost makes you look at the other side. And, with the variance of goaltending and bounces and the who knows what happened goaltender interference calls, these 2-1 games, they really can go either way.
And this, of course, means that the Dallas-Nashville series is the one most likely to have a triple overtime.
It wouldn't surprise me if there's a really long game at some point.
Sure, it feels like that's going to be the series that has the longest game of the first round. So I am not an NHL aficionado. However, I know enough to know that the St. Louis Blues have been one of these teams that just never does anything in the postseason. Great regular season, all that. When it comes to postseason, the St. Louis Blues have been perennial underachievers, and yet this year, I keep hearing around town, people buzzing in my ear about this is the year maybe for St. Louis. What are you seeing on St. Louis and Winnipeg in the first round?
This is a tale of two teams going in opposite directions toward the end of the regular season. All the sharp money is rolled in on St. Louis to win this series. I agree with him in terms of what I think the result of the series is, but the price is completely unplayable at this point. Probably closer to a pick'em. St. Louis was the worst team in the NHL, I believe, on January 2nd or January 3rd, and at 4 o'clock p.m. on the last day of the regular season, they were in first in the division. It goes to show how sometimes a change in coach, a change in goal can really affect things. This Jordan Binnington kid has been unbelievable. We have no idea what he's going to do in the playoffs, but frankly, you look at Winnipeg, a team that has so much offensive talent and can score with the best of them. They give up a ton of high danger chances themselves, and Connor Hellebuck just has been average. He hasn't been good as he was last year. I really see Winnipeg struggling to get out of this series, although they can score with the best of them. This one comes down to the goaltenders to me.
Yeah, I played this. This is the only game I played tonight. I played Winnipeg. To me, it's minus 15, minus 20 was just too cheap. The value, and I'm a value guy, and to me, the value was with Winnipeg. I'm not saying it's going to be easy by any means, but I do like certain things here about the Jets. One is that they're probably the healthiest they've been in a month tonight. They've got all hands on deck pretty much. They've got a lot of playoff experience. They're very good at home. And let's see what the rookie goaltender, who was nobody had even heard of before this season, let's see what he does in a playoff atmosphere. If the Blues win this first game, it could be lights out for Winnipeg in a hurry. So to me, this was the most must-win home game of any of these first-round matchups is tonight for Winnipeg. They've got to have this game, Jeff.
You're completely right. That is as tough of a barn to play in as there is. And if this Binnington kid goes into Winnipeg and puts up a performance tonight, then he can put up a performance in any building. But maybe if Winnipeg get to him early, get a couple behind him, maybe he starts thinking, maybe Winnipeg then wins game 1 and game 2 and spins the series completely. You're right, Dave. 100% must win tonight for Winnipeg.
Avalanche and Flames should be fun because when Colorado's top line is on the ice, they can play with anybody. Their second line has shown some improvement since they made a deal. But Calgary's got more depth, and that could be a big factor in this series, and it's why the Flames are pretty clear favorites in the 1 versus 8 Western matchup.
Yeah, and we took some early sharp money, Flames minus $1.85. It's up to anywhere from $2.10 to $2.30 around town. And it makes a lot of sense, but there's one big if, and it's not 2012 anymore. Mike Smith is not what he used to be.
Nope.
The goaltending issues here could be really big for Calgary. Much deeper team, Calgary. Colorado is one line, and that's it. Rantanen is going to play tonight. How healthy he is, I don't know. Philip Grubauer took the job over, 6 weeks ago or so for Colorado. He did the same for Washington last year, went into the playoffs and frankly stunk in the first 2 games. So what are you going to get out of him tonight? This series is priced right, and it's baffling to me. Every time I want to bet Colorado, I'm like, and then every time I want to bet Calgary, I'm like, I can't lay that price with the goaltending situation. This is going to be a watch and see game 1 and game 2 and go from there for me.
And that's when the betting markets have done their job effectively. Yeah. When you're like, no, I don't want that one. No, I don't want the other side. That's not going to be the case for most of the people, certainly not the locals here in town, who bet with their hearts as much as their heads as the Golden Knights take on the Sharks. Now, last spring, there wasn't a bookmaker in town that didn't have a dichotomy between his heart and his head because everyone's rooting for the Knights, but when you got to explain to the man upstairs what just happened and why the book just lost a whole bunch of money, it's not always an easy conversation. Golden Knights and the Sharks priced pretty near pick'em. What kind of action are you seeing, and what line are you hanging down at Caesars?
We opened at pick'em. We're up to minus 20 on the Knights in the series. We've taken a little bit of sharp Knights action. I'm also on the Knights. I think this one, I think there's a couple of mismatches on the ice that the Knights should be able to exploit. As far